Hey, good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining me. We have Thursday morning. We had a bunch of earnings come out last night, so I'm going to talk about a bunch of things that will help you break down and analyze the market. Let me just get myself right in the middle here. Okay, so let's just kick it off real quick. Let's talk about earnings. Okay, so I mentioned earnings yesterday. I mentioned there were four companies that I was looking at going into today. We had Lucid first, who missed. They under-delivered by about a third of what they promised as far as car deliveries go for the quarter. They were down 9% after hours. Then they dropped as much as 13%. They're only down like 12.5 right now. Again, I'm going to look to see if they buy the dip on Lucid. I think it's probably unlikely that they will, as they do with some other companies once other companies provide earnings. Next company I mentioned probably on the downside, and I mentioned this yesterday morning, TDOC. TDOC is off 4.5% this morning. Again, it pumped 3% yesterday, so you're not really losing all that much. Up 3% yesterday, down 4.5% pre-market. If you were in the stock, you're only down 1.5%. So again, when it comes to earnings calls, it is more risky to play options. Bumble, I mentioned this yesterday again. Bumble had a ton of call options being bought, sweeps being bought. It was up 3.6% yesterday. Came out with earnings up 4.5% this morning. NVIDIA up close to 10.5%. Again, NVIDIA, I went in on some stock. Why did I go in stock and not options? Because if I was wrong with NVIDIA, I could hold my NVIDIA for 6 months, 9 months until I make the profit that I'm looking for. Luckily for me, after hours it popped. I got in, I got out, I secured profit. Okay, let's see what else. SPY sitting. Okay, so let's just get right into it. Let me tell you what I saw yesterday. These are the highlights. These are things that are going to help you analyze and predict the market. We're going to talk about the dark pool levels of the SPY so that you know when you might see resistance or support. You can get into a trade or out of a trade and secure profit. Yesterday, 1.95 billion at 398.45 on the SPY, 1 billion 398.54, 1 billion at 399. So again, that was telling me either key levels of support or they were expecting the market to drop. Now, everything was based on the Fed's announcement. The Fed's minutes came out. Stock market shot down, then it went up, and then it dropped significantly. Understand the Fed's comments were still extremely aggressive. We like to go by the Fed swaps rates, which tells you what the interest rate hike will be at each of the meetings. However, the Fed swaps rate has been completely off, which is telling me that as the market continues to have doubts or questions, the same people that are buying the dips, the same big money institutions will continue to buy the dips. That's why we haven't seen the market crash, even though you have Morgan Stanley telling you that the stock market's going to be in a death spiral. That's what they said, death spiral, down 26%. Again, in my opinion, it looks like the market doesn't really care about interest rates. They continue to buy the dip. The retail trader continues to enter the market strongly. So we'll talk about today's ranges in a minute. Let's just keep going. Okay, yeah, I wanted to show you guys what I think. Let's just see the market change here. I'm going to pull up Discord right here. Let me just go to my chat so we can see. So how do we analyze the market every day? And I'm going to get to the SPY for today. But let's just get to yesterday, what we were seeing. Here we go. Expectations, right. And here we go. Light volume, right. Oh, we've got Romeo doing a live stream this morning on YouTube, so make sure you subscribe. End of day, several large put spikes on the SPY. Those are going to turn out to be wrong. In fact, this morning, those will come in at a nice loss. End of day sentiment kind of reversed. So let's just bring that up. Hopefully you guys can see that. Now, what I want to show you, hopefully it's on the screen. It is. So what I wanted to show you guys is here's the premiums, what people pay for puts. As you can see, towards the end of the day yesterday, put premium went from up here all the way down here, telling you there was a strong reversal. It did not mean that calls were taking off and the price and the IV of calls were going through the roof, because everybody was still bearish on the market. That was bearish sentiment. However, profit was secured. How do I know? Because the cost of these premiums for the puts went down here. And what do we see at the end of the day? We saw the market spike up a little heading into these earnings. Again, NVIDIA, in my opinion, is holding up the market. And NVIDIA's earnings, they did not crush it, but they had a double beat. with that said, they spoke about AI. I mean, if anybody mentions AI in their company, it's like the company automatically shoots up. It's the most important invention since the internet. I think we heard one of the investors say that. Okay, so look at the net flow. Again, net flow of the market. We saw the sell-off right here around 2 p.m. Fed notes came out. And again, the Fed said they're going to be as aggressive, which is not a surprise. So the fact that the market dropped significantly. Then we came back right to this point here where we saw support in the morning. So that's just what I'm seeing. All right, let's get rid of that. Let's get back to the dark pool levels. Let me just see if I can pull that up now. All right, flows and algos. Here we go. And here's my dark pool level for the SPY. Okay, so I'm going to talk about the dark pool level and where we can see. Let me just see if I had any other stories. Okay, so NVIDIA was up 8% after hours. Again, it's up over 10% this morning. Their AI was 18x in the summary section of the fourth quarter earnings before the financial tables. Understand, in Q3 of last year, before everybody was talking about AI, earnings section was just 2x. So obviously a ton of interest in AI, a ton of money being made in EAI, and it's just growing substantially as far as NVIDIA goes. I heard estimates at $3 to $9 billion will be profited next year or this year in 2023 just from AI, just for NVIDIA. Yes, the earnings were out late. We talked about the huge spikes. Lucid, okay, so the deliveries in the fourth quarter, they had 1,932. They're estimated at 2,800. So they missed by 900. Do the math. I guess it's about like 28%. So let's say they missed by 28%. Here's the post that I made yesterday. A buyer of 1,250 Bumble $25 calls for $147,000. And then several repeat orders hit the tape right after. So again, going into earnings yesterday, even if you didn't play the run up in Bumble, you could have seen that big money. And that's why I talk about how important Discord is and how important looking at option sweeps and how important looking at the flow charts and the net flow and the algo flows, because it tells you where the stock is going. Instead of just guessing, going, yeah, I mean, I think the market's going higher, you can actually have data and information to help you process and say, okay, how high? Okay, if I'm going to get in a bullish position, when should I enter? Because you don't want to just jump in at market open. That's one of the most ridiculous things I've heard. Okay, next, 2 days ago, what did I mention before closing? I mentioned Uber and Lyft. So we had another member from the platform mentioning I sold on open yesterday. Uber, from the close the day before to the open yesterday, the options I spoke about up 120%. Lyft, the options I spoke about, up 60%. Do I think Uber and Lyft are done running? No. There's been demand for those two stocks. I believe Roblox will have a little bit of a bounce. Again, we'll talk about stocks shortly, but let's get right into the SPY. Okay, so we talk about dark pool levels. Let me just bring this up because the dark pool levels were almost in a ghost zone. Now, I mentioned 398 yesterday was at like 6 billion, so it's at 8 billion, which tells me we probably have a little support at 398. Remember, we closed at 398.54, just over that zone right there. We're opening this morning at 433 on the SPY. So let's just see where that factor is. Okay, the next level, $4 billion worth of SPY at 424 cents. So understand, right now we're at 433. Market sentiment kind of flipped. Now, here's the thing. The Fed is not doing a pivot. The Fed is going to be just as aggressive with raising rates. I've heard 3, possibly 4 more quarter-point rate hikes to get the inflation somewhere between 5 and 6%. Understand, we're coming down from what? 10, 9, 8, 7. We're probably in the mid-6 range or something to that extent. We're looking for, PPI, CPI, come out, PCE. So anyway, here we go, 424 on the SPY. After that level, on the way up, say the market gets bought up and we break that $400 level, which is a psychological level, there's a ghost zone, 900, under $1 billion worth of SPY interest at 402.36. So that tells me if we're going to have a bullish day in the market, bull case scenario, we're sitting at 400 right now, it's going to easily pop up to 404.50. That is the next level that could be a rejection. And again, the volume at that level is, $4.35 billion. So that tells me that's a pretty small level again. So actually, if we're going to pop up today And I'm not saying this is going to happen, but I want to give you the bull case scenario. So if you're a bull and you have a reason to be a bull and you say, okay, well, the market's already baked in everything the Fed said, and who cares if they're more aggressive? Who cares that interest rates are going up? Earnings are still good. Forecasting is still good. I mean, shit, look at NVIDIA, double beat. Look at Bumble. Even Etsy. Etsy came out and they were going to have such, they led their guidance into having a strong fourth quarter. And I thought they were giving guidance that was a little too strong. And I actually expected them to miss or disappoint. And again, they beat, went up. We saw Wingstop yesterday go up. We saw Palo Alto Networks Internet Security go up another 8 or 9% yesterday. So there are some stocks that are making significant moves to the higher side. So again, if I'm going to look for rejection, I'm going to look for rejection probably in this 406.60 level. 406.60 would be, we're up 2 whole percent today. We're up 8 points on the SPY. That's kind of logical, seeing how the earnings came in, and those earnings that didn't come in good, they're doing a buy the dip. Now, again, $400 psychological level. So what's going to happen? Okay, bull case scenario, we're going to ride up to 406 before we see some type of pullback. Remember, nothing goes straight up, so I expect some type of choppiness on the way up, almost like a fade higher. With that said, let's go into a bear case scenario, okay? Bear case scenario is, let's just see where we checked in at yesterday. Yesterday on the SPY, we were as low as 397, as high as 401.13. So there was a 4-point range. If I say to myself, okay, history tends to repeat itself, if I'm going to find a 4-point range today, and we're sitting at 400 flat right now, and that's a key point. If we go up, and again, this is bear case scenario. If we go up, I'm going to say maybe we hit 401.20 or something to that extent. Again, let's check out where the dark pool level is. It is 424, very small, 402.36, very small. Again, so if we're going to have a bearish day, which if I had to decide one way or another, I would say, yeah, my heart is telling me bear day, but the numbers that are coming out and the support for the market is extremely strong. So if I had to say, I would say 70-30, we're going to have a bullish day, 70% chance we're going to see 406 on the high side today. Now, again, 40% bearish day. What's likely to happen? Well, we're likely to pop it open, shoot up to about 402, 402.50, and then shoot down at some point today, right around yesterday's lows at 397. So again, those are the two scenarios I'm going to play out. Again, I'm thinking bear case, okay, shoot up to 402.50, shoot down to 398, 397.50, something like that. Get involved with puts. As far as bull case scenario, maybe we see a dip for a couple minutes at open. Maybe we see some sort of rejection at 401, but I could really see us at 400 level really holding strong. Again, it's a big psychological number. And if we hold the 400 level and it shows support at 400, where the dark pool levels are pretty small, I think that it's going to shoot up to 406. All right, let's see what kind of questions we have today. Got to keep it short. Romeo is going live, so please make sure you subscribe. Hit the like button. What do we got? Okay, so what do we have? Questions. NVIDIA, Etsy, Baba, save the market. Okay, so Baba didn't have earnings. What I mentioned yesterday is JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs are saying China is making their market more liquid. They're infusing cash into their market, which should be strong for Chinese stocks. Again, China doesn't want to be second best to anybody. So the fact that the U.S. economy and the U.S. stock market is holding up well doesn't surprise me that the Chinese government is adding money and adding liquidity to the Chinese market. And yeah, you saw stocks probably like Alibaba shot up 5%. Baidu, which was up to $151 yesterday, pre-market, dropped all the way to 136. That looks sort of interesting now that it came down. Again, I mentioned this about 2 weeks ago when it was 153. I said, the buying range is more in the 134, 135, maybe as low as 132, and it's a good buy and hold stock. I still believe that. Baidu, Alibaba, JD, those are what I'm looking for China. Yeah, I know, unfortunately, the largest the Discord box goes is this, because if I didn't blow it up, it would be a little smaller. When I enlarge it, there you go, and I make it. So I do my best. Unfortunately, it's a YouTube thing. Good morning. Hit the like button. Baba reported earnings today. Oh, they did report earnings. Okay. I must have missed that. I apologize for that one. I'll have to check that out. Short NVIDIA. If so, what? No. I would not play NVIDIA. In fact, if you want to play NVIDIA, you have to wait for the IVs to come down. When will that happen? Okay, well, they just came out with earnings. IVs were extremely strong going into your earnings yesterday. I would give it half a day, 3/4 of a day. Just today, Thursday, I would let NVIDIA settle. And then if you have a targeted price point by drawing the lines and charting NVIDIA and seeing the volume and looking at the dark pool levels, if you think it's going to go higher, then yeah, feel free to get into calls. Again, if it's showing strong support and if it holds the open, I think it's up over 20 points. Let's just see where it is. NVIDIA. Oh my God, it's up 11.5%. Now I feel like an asshole. I mean, I took 7.5%, 7.38%, 7.48% after hours yesterday. I thought I did great. And then it was up 8.5%. Now it's up 11.5%. So, I mean, I left a shitload of money on the table, unfortunately. Stocks that I like to try and fade after earnings are stocks that have shitty earnings, crappy earnings, shitty forecasting, and yet they pump 20 or 30%. Like you had Roblox, like Lucid pumped off the rumors with the Saudis that the Saudis were going to take them over. Upstart, when Upstart pumped to $22 or $21.50 off shitty earnings. I said it was coming down to 18. It came down to 18. It's pumping again. So, I mean, there are certain stocks. Let's just talk about some stocks. Again, Lucid, I would stay away from. TDOC. TDOC's hard. I did think it was going down. It's down 5% pre-market, but then you have institutions and people like Kathy that are longtime investors in stuff like that. Etsy, stay away from. I mean, again, I'm more or less going to trade the SPY. Let's remember, I got into Apple puts yesterday, and I sold for a minimal profit. I think it was like 3.5% before close. Why? Because I was in NVIDIA long, and I figured if NVIDIA beats and the market shoots up, Apple's got to shoot up with it. But again, I'm watching Apple. I'm watching the 151 level on Apple, which is about $2 higher, so about 1.3% higher. Apple's up 0.45 pre-market. At 151, I would expect Apple to reject, and I still think Apple is really overvalued right now and should go down. But again, if the market is going up, Apple's not going to fight that trend. Upstart showed a little support yesterday, finally, even though it had terrible earnings. So again, on a good day, and I mentioned Upstart yesterday, I said, and Upstart was as high as $20.31. It was up 8 or 9% yesterday morning on open. I mentioned on strong market days, Upstart is one of those stocks that will move 8, 9, 10, 11%. Upstart will move like that. Affirm will move like that. I mentioned Lyft and Uber because I've seen support for Lyft and Uber. So as long as the market kind of holds its own support, again, I'm a strong proponent of Lyft and Uber. I could see Lyft shooting up to the 13.25 range. Right now, it closed at 10.75. Yesterday, when I spoke about it, it was 10.60. It's up a little pre-market, so it's probably at like 10.92 right now. So again, yeah, I could see that running from 10.92 all the way up to 13, which would be like an 18 or 19% gain. Same with Uber. I could see Uber running back up to the $38, $39 range, which would be $4.50 from where it is right now. $4.50 would be about a 12% move. Again, earnings didn't really impress me, but they didn't disappoint me all that much with Uber. We mentioned Roku the other day, and Roku was being sold off after earnings. It was bought into earnings. It was pushed up to $72. Then you had 2 straight days of selling, and Roku, I think, dropped as low as like $65, maybe even $64 the other day. It's back at $68.84, so almost $69. It will likely, if you get buying for the last 2 days, it'll likely be in the $73 to $74 range. You're talking about a $5 move. You're talking about 9%. Again, that would be the market has to be strong for the next 2 days. I'm looking at the U.S. dollar. See, now the U.S. dollar, here's the chart for the U.S. dollar. It looks like it's on an uptrend. As the U.S. dollar increases, it puts downward pressure on the market. So I've said that before. So again, that's why it's kind of hard for me to call a market direction. That's why it's better not to trade with emotion, not to trade with feeling, and let the market tell you where it's going. So I won't do any trading until 10:30 this morning, at least, possibly 11. And I'm going to look to see if the market tops out at any of the numbers that I spoke about pre-market. And if it does, and I see a rejection, then I'm going to get into puts. If I see support, which is more than likely, again, they've been buying the dips every day in the market this year. Anytime the market dips, they've been buying the dips. And I say they, I mean big money, banks, institutions, except for 5 days. So understand we're about 37 trading days in the market this year, maybe 38. And every time the market dips, they're buying the dip, all but 5 days where we actually faded the entire day. With that said, Romeo is going to be live at 9:15 this morning. I'm heading over to Discord right now. Please join me, and I'll see everybody later. Have a great day. Please, thumbs up if you